Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickerson from Dubbo Regional Council.
Data that we've been looking at is that 716 of Dubbo's young people have been convicted of theft over the past 5 years, and more people now are requesting a regional crime summit to be established. Is that something that you've heard much about? And what would you think about establishing a regional crime summit?
That number 716 is not a number I've heard before. I'm not sure exactly what that refers to. And there are a number of different categories when you look through the BOXAR stats, and I do encourage people to look at the BOXAR stats to see exactly what's happening in relation to crime. There are categories that relate to theft, breaking into a dwelling, receiving or handling stolen goods, motor vehicle theft, steal from motor vehicle, a range of different categories, including one called other theft. So I'm not sure what those refer to, but it's important to look at those 5-year trends. And when we look at those 5-year trends, we see that we've got more categories going down than we have going up, no categories that are going up dramatically. And I think it's important that people do look at those to get some sort of context for some of those different categories and see exactly what is happening with crime in relation to crime. One of the things that's very important when you're involved in any level of government is knowing the boundaries of what you can do and basically making sure you stay within those boundaries, stay within your lanes. Local government does not control the sentencing laws. Local government does not control the policing. Local government does not control the magistrates. So the three key components of any crime solution are not controlled by local government. They're all controlled by state government. So any crime issues there may be there would need to be addressed by the state government. We can certainly be advocates for that, and we certainly do have discussions with the police and with the various agencies that are responsible, but we can't solve any problem by ourselves. Now, the interesting part here is that when you start to break down that data, is there really that bad a crime issue in Dubbo? And you can read stats any way you like. I do check the BOXAR stats from time to time to make sure that I am up to date with it. Again, I do meet with the police, I do meet with various agencies. But you can cherry pick different parts of data and make Dubbo look bad or look good depending on what your objective is. When I look at some of the crime stats over, say, a 2-year time frame, I see that there are some categories where our crime has gone down by 30% over 2 years, down by 38% in some categories, down by 30.3%. I look at the 5-year trend, and that's something probably I'm more interested in, and a lot of those categories have been stable. Some have been down, say, for example, 9% for steal from dwellings, gone down by 9%. Other theft has gone down by 7%. When you look at things like arson's gone down by 11.4%. Malicious damage to property, down by 8.2%. Stealing from a motor vehicle, down by 6.1%. So a lot of these data points have actually gone down over that 5-year time frame. So sometimes you get a very emotional response on social media. If someone has a crime committed against them personally, which does happen, we still have crime, people take it very personally and think there's a crime problem across the whole LGA. And the data doesn't necessarily suggest that. The other part that I think is very important is the type of crimes. Now, when you look at things such as robbery with a firearm, there was one recorded incident of that last year, one recorded incident the year before. So that's been stable, but we're talking about one. If you look at other areas across the state, robbery with a firearm is much higher. And obviously, if someone's going to steal something from my car or robbery with a firearm, then I'd rather have them just steal something out of my car, because robbery with a firearm sounds like a fairly confronting particular piece of crime to have happen to you. When you look at things like drugs, possession or use of cocaine, that's remained stable in Dubbo. So you might say, well, it hasn't gone down. But there were only 7 recorded incidents last year of possession or use of cocaine. Similar with narcotics, there were only 10 recorded incidents of that. So it went down from 11 the previous year to 10 in the last year. So you look at some of the stats of things that are particularly important, and again, we don't like to see any crime. But the crime that occurs in Dubbo is probably crime that is less dangerous to the individual than it is to the crime that's more on property. So stealing from a motor vehicle, stealing from a house, those sort of crimes sometimes can be some opportunistic type crimes as opposed to a deliberate planned crime, or drugs, which sometimes involve other crimes as well. So do we have a crime spike? Do we have crime that's out of hand? The Boxar stats certainly don't seem to suggest that.
So would you say that there is anything you'd like to see done about it, maybe from a state government level? Or do you feel that it's at a point where it doesn't really need further action or, investigation?
I'd always like to see crime going down. There's no doubt about that. I can't control the crime. I'm not responsible for the controlling of that crime. But I love the community and I live in this community. Of course, I want to see crime going down. Police are doing an exceptional job. More police, yes, more police in Wellington, definitely. I think that would be fantastic because they don't have a 24-hour police presence at the moment. That's something we've been advocating for. So I'd love to see more police. There is also some feedback from the community that sometimes when the police do their job and they find the perpetrators of crime, they sometimes don't get sentencing that maybe some people in the community feel is appropriate. So would I like to see some stronger sentencing laws? Would I like to see some stronger sentencing from our court system? I think that would certainly be helpful. But again, I'm not an expert on this area, and getting people to rehabilitate as opposed to just incarcerating them, there's a strong argument in both ways for the outcomes of that. Drug rehab, we've already talked about that. It's been given the go-ahead in Dubbo. We'd like to see that particular building built. But again, council's not going to build that. It's entirely up to the state government to build the drug rehab centre and obviously run that in terms of making sure that people are utilising that and making sure that people are taking advantage of that. So yes, I'd always like to see crime go down. There's no doubt about it. But I'm certainly not fearful as I walk the streets of Dubbo or go for an early morning run or go to do some late night shopping. I'm not hearing people fearful for their lives or their bodies out in the community. People, yes, I've had people talk to me about the fact they might have had things stolen from their motor vehicle or things stolen from their homes, and that is very emotional. I've had it happen to me in the past as well. It's very emotional, but it doesn't mean we've got a crime wave or a crime spike.
So what do you think of the regional crime summit idea that's been put forward? Do you feel that that's necessary?
I'm not sure who's going to run that summit. I'm not sure where that suggestion has come from, and you really have to look at what you're hoping to achieve from that. And I haven't seen enough on it to know what's trying to be achieved by a crime summit. A crime summit would suggest to me that you've got some problem that is out of hand, and I certainly don't think that's the case at the moment. I don't think some people making emotional responses on social media is enough data to suggest that we need to have a summit to address a serious issue. The police are already doing a fantastic job. The processes that we've got in place, I don't think they're going to change dramatically if we had a crime summit. The police look at the stats the same as I would look at the stats and know where they've got to try and focus their energies, and also then from the sentencing side of it, the state government can look at those stats and decide what they might need to do from a sentencing side. So I don't know how a crime summit is going to change any of that.
Thanks so much for taking the time, Matthew. Have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you.
Mayoral Memo with Matthew Dickinson from Dubbo Regional Council.